Hey, so welcome back to the Sex Talk. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the therapeutic relationship that happens between clients and their therapists. The Sex Talk. So, something that has come to my attention lately that I really wanted to talk about a little bit really quickly is the therapeutic relationship between clients and therapists and what it is and what it means and how it can work for you. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding as to what a therapist's role is. And in my role, specifically, I work mostly as a sex therapist, so I do a lot of work with couples, but I also work with individuals sometimes. And sex therapy can be, like, particularly with couples, it can be more short-term because couples tend to, like, when you're working with a couple, or this could be a throuple or a family, meaning more than one person, and sort of a unit. When they come in for therapy, there's more people, and so there's more not telling on each other, but like truth comes out. So one person says, well, this thing is happening to me in relation to the other person or in relation to their partner, and we have an opportunity to address it. So things can move a lot faster in couples therapy. In individual therapy, it's often not so fast because as individuals, we might have less insight into how our behaviors are affecting other people. So a lot of what we work on in individual therapy is more like how things affect us. So how things affect you as an individual. We can't change the other people, so we work on how you can change yourself, how you can change your environment, what you can work on, things like that. In couples therapy or in family or throuples therapy, it's how we can better listen to each other, how we can better communicate, how we can get our needs met together. And we learn about the other person in couples therapy. And so it can be really profound, but also faster. Well, because of the fact that I'm not just working on sexual issues, I'm also a licensed therapist. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, which basically means I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I have a master's degree in clinical psychology, and then I did my hours under supervision for, I think, 3,000 hours to get licensed. And that was over 13 years ago. So I've been a licensed therapist for 13 years, specializing in sex therapy. But what that means is that sometimes I do see clients long term, and we often end up addressing things other than sex. We often end up addressing things like, long-standing trauma, long-standing like attachment issues, behavioral things. We also deal with how you're showing up in your current relationship, with relation to your experience and things of that nature. So, individual therapy, even though it's not my specialty, can sometimes take a more long-term, can end up being something that's, that we do for more long-term. And basically, when that happens, there's a really positive thing that can come out of that, that short-term therapy doesn't really allow for. And that is that you now have the opportunity to experience what it's like to be in a relationship that has like reparative value, also known as corrective emotional experiences or reparative experiences. Basically, you get to have experiences with someone, me, the therapist, or your therapist, and that relationship allows you to experience what it's like to have a fight, have a disagreement, say something that's not right, and have that reflected back to you. And so those are the types of things I wanted to specifically talk about today. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is when you have something negative to say to your therapist, typically when we go to therapy, we end up repeating patterns that we're repeating in real life. But therapy is a great place for you to break those patterns. So if your therapist said something that hurts you or upsets you, this is a great opportunity for you to actually say, hey, that didn't feel good when you said that. And sort of learn that your therapist isn't going to go anywhere. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because people often terminate therapy. They'll often quit just out of the blue. They'll quit by not showing up. They'll send an email and cancel. They'll call and cancel. And then never show back up because there's been a rupture in the relationship. And in their past experience, that rupture means, oh, we can't go back. I can't go back to seeing my therapist again. When in reality, as your therapist, 1, I'm probably not mad at you. 2, I expect it. 3, I've been trained to work through this type of thing with you. So I want you to show up. I want you to be yourself and show up. And if you have the urge to break up with your therapist, I would ask yourself, are you doing this? Is this an old pattern that you're doing? It's important to remember that your therapist is not your friend, is not your mother, is not your partner. A lot of times we confuse those relationships with our relationship with our therapist, but your therapist is there to provide a therapeutic experience for you, to be there for you even in the darkest of times. That's what our job is to be there for you in your darkest of times, even if that dark time is about me. I have a really great experience, and it was a client had emailed me about something that we had discussed, but in her email there was some things that she really wanted me to do, and she gave me a very short window to do. I had agreed to do these things, reaching out to someone else on our team, and she wanted me to do it in a really short amount of time. And I said, first of all, no, because I have good boundaries. But I also let her know how it made me feel disrespected. And she responded as she should. She was very, very sweet, and she apologized. But later she told me that she thought in her mind, oh God, now I have to find a new therapist. This relationship is over. Luckily, she didn't do that. She came back to therapy. But this is a very great example of what happens and how she's now able to say, oh, wow, I can screw up. And my therapist can tell me like that didn't feel good, and we can still continue our relationship. And guess what? It brought us closer together. Because she learned that she can still be herself, and I'm still going to show up for her. And I get to tell her when things don't feel good to me, and she gets to still show up for me. Like, we still get to show up and be who we are. And that was a really profound experience for her. And I want to reiterate this to you. If you feel like you want to terminate with your therapist, if you feel like it must be over, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if you're repeating a pattern. Ask yourself if there's something that could be benefited by sticking this through. A lot of times we develop an attachment to our therapist that is similar to something that we've had in the past, and our past behavior was to, if something fell apart, walk away. A lot of people do that. That's the safest thing to do, but it doesn't provide us with a lot of opportunity for growth. It doesn't provide us the opportunity to learn from our experiences. It doesn't provide us an opportunity to communicate with the other person what went wrong and like how to fix it and things like that. So I kind of just wanted to clarify that as therapists, we take on a role that is meant to be therapeutic for you, that's meant to be different than what you've been doing in the past. That's why you came to us in the beginning. And when you stay in a therapeutic relationship for a longer period of time, and by long I mean more than 6 months, 8 months, a year, when you get to that place, you're more likely to have disagreements with your therapist. You're more likely to have these strong feelings because now you're more intimate. Now you're closer. And so your therapist is going to piss you off, or my client is going to piss me off because we've sort of developed more of an attachment, more of a bond. That is part of the therapeutic relationship. This needs to be differentiated from the relationship of a friend or a partner or a mom or a parent. We are not those things. We're not your friend, so obviously you're not going to call us up in the middle of the night and cry. You're going to wait till your appointment. We're not your parent. So we have a lot of boundaries, but those boundaries are actually meant to sort of be a good example for you, because you can have boundaries too in your life, even with your partners, even with your friends, even with your parents, even with family members. That doesn't necessarily have to be like a therapeutic relationship, but it can, like, being in a therapeutic relationship can sort of help you take what you learn in therapy and sort of apply it to the real world. So that's just kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm sure there are things that I'm missing. So if you feel like you have any more questions or you want to ask me something, go ahead and put them in the comments and I will try to respond as soon as I can. But just keep in mind that as you go into therapy, your main goal is for change. And sometimes, not sometimes, I would say a large portion of the time, change is actually kind of awkward and kind of painful. In fact, growth happens when we feel a little bit of pain and discomfort. So next time you feel uncomfortable in therapy and you really just want to quit, ask yourself a few questions. Is this an old pattern of mine? Am I overreacting? Maybe I should go back in and give it another shot and give it another 3 sessions and see, like, if you can address it, if you can bring it up to your therapist and let them know how it made you feel. Because you entered into this relationship 9 times out of 10. Most people come to therapy on their own volition. Sometimes it's court ordered. I'm in private practice, so I don't see a lot of court ordered patients, but in the event of where you're seeking court ordered therapy, then maybe you don't want to be there. But for the most part, people that come to therapy do want to be there. You chose this for a reason. You chose this for yourself. So what is that reason? Why are you here today? You want change. And if you run away from that change, you might just be repeating an old pattern that you weren't happy with to begin with. So that was it for the sex talk. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them. I'll answer them in another video, or I'll respond to your comments. But I look forward to hearing from you, and have a great day.